This podcast is intended for adults only. We do not condone the use of any illegal substances, and anything we consume is for educational purposes only.
Because, we should be afraid of a plant that grows from the ground. And, endocannabinoid system is, it's in your body and it produces cannabinoids. I mean, you know what? I'm going to stop because I'm going to rant. Just play the music, Mitch. Be there right by my side, man. What a time it is to be alive. See, I'm charged up, feeling energized. Do the enterprise, move supersize. Y'all extra like a side of fries. Whoa, false guys who you idolize. Yeah, go against us, I would not advise. We the highest in the room, just look up once and you can find us. Our song should have more plays, but we too though, they rewind us. All my targets lined up. Every day my girl get fined up. All my clothes is local, bitch. I really rock designer.
You're listening to the Canna podcast, where we are cultivating conversations concerning cannabis, culture, and creativity. I'm one of your hosts. My name is Mitch Narito.
And I am Eric Esteban. And with us today is a very special guest from Austin, Texas. Am I right? Yeah?
Yeah.
Ivy Lee, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the Canna podcast, my friend.
Woo! Ow, ow.
This is almost a little special episode, only because all three of us participated in the JoySauce
One mic stand.
There you go. And this is like the about last night of that event. And I just want Ivy, tell us a little bit about yourself. But at the end of the day, it was just fun to share that event with the three of you. And I'm glad that you were able to come over and be a part of the podcast. So kind of introduce yourself. Tell us about yourself, Ivy. Because, for those that don't know.
I'm Ivy Lee with one E. No relation to Robert E. I'm a comic from Texas. I'm Vietnamese as fuck. And
Vietnamese.
Vietnamese, người Việt Nam. And I know these fuckers because I'm a stand-up comic actress, writer. And I'm here because I started doing drugs during the pandemic.
During the pandemic? So you're very new to cannabis.
Very, very, very new to cannabis. But I have ADHD and I hyperfixate and I learn fast. And the thing that kind of finally got me about cannabis was kind of, I saw it as this beautiful food ingredient, and I didn't see my culture represented in cannabis culture. Like brownies are not like my people's. Like,
okay, yeah.
Whatever. So I'm like, and we're better at herbs anyway. And so I just kind of took it down this like very intense road of using cannabis as a culinary ingredient to reclaim our heritage in where we are, where we ended up, or whatever.
So you use cannabis in your cooking?
Yes.
That's so dope. So Eric and I, we mostly consume through smoking. I'll eat it. Usually when I'm somewhere where I can't smoke. But it's cool to have someone that is mainly
edibles.
Yeah, mainly edibles.
Yeah, because I quit smoking when I decided to start a family. So I was like, I just don't, and now I talk for a living as a stand-up comic and podcaster, right? So like, how my voice sounds right now? I just took 1.5 hits, and my throat was already so scratchy.
She sampled the homegrown, guys. She did it. I'm always very. I don't want to say. I guess fatherly. I was going to say motherly, but I'm not motherly. But. I was
debatable.
Yeah, no, you're right. I am kind of motherly, especially when we have guests over that are not.
Eric, just everything you're saying right now is like changing the size of this room.
I understand. See, and that's the thing is that people aren't used to smoking homegrown, and then if you don't normally smoke, I mean, you're having a new experience right now.
Yeah, it's like, kind of those digital futuristic video games where it's something, a robot will like scan a 3D object and it points this like multi-gridded map overlay.
It makes like a what are they called?
just like a bunch of little planes that all connect to each other.
Things,
yeah, that's what's happening in this room.
Ivy has activated her sonar, her personal
endocannabinoid system is firing.
Yes, and then it'll just like randomly take like a connected polygon of these little planes and then like set it forward or backward in space. And that's every time I blink, and I have dry eyes anyway, so I'm like blinking a lot. And that's how your room is resetting.
I love it. I'm gonna say that this is the first like full account of your sample of the homegrown, like as it's happening. This is maybe the first time in Canna podcast history that the person who sampled the homegrown is really giving us a review right up top.
But you're doing all right, right?
Yeah,
like
you're doing cool. You're good.
You're chilling.
Yeah, but it's like one of those Star Wars training rooms, right, where I'm in like a 360 simulation where it's like pixelated.
Yeah.
But that like the training module I'm in is like to fly one of those like gyroscope planes, and so it's like the room's going forward and backward in that like.
Are you dizzy or are you good?
No, it's not like spinning. It's just
good.
like the dimensions are changing. But like meanwhile, kind of behind my right eyebrow is like the gyroscope that's telling me that the plane is like going a little like up, kind of like tilty to the right, and then I'll try to use my ear to like push it back to balance in the center.
So what you're saying is you're a little bit high right now.
I'm just having a very physical experience in our physical, as in physics, as in like the discipline of physics. That's what I mean. In that physical world,
you're on another plane.
So
cool.
But you normally like you said, you normally consume by eating cannabis, right?
Right. Like,
so it's hitting you differently than eating.
Well, it's not. I think to me, the difference between edibles and smoking is not the experience itself. It varies more from plant to plant.
Okay. Yeah.
Okay. So
for sure.
So if I, have a batch of one very specific plant. And then I decide I often do this, right? I'll split the weight. Half of it is I'll cook with that. Mm-hmm. And then half of it I'll just leave for, myself to smoke, or mostly for guests who would rather smoke than do edibles. Okay. The difference between those two experiences, smoking versus edibles, is like, that's not the relevant. It's from plant to plant. I think that's the big relevant different experience. So like, I've never experienced a plant that I'm experiencing now through my digestive system.
Okay.
Right, because I'm from Texas. Like, we don't get the...
I'm so glad you brought it up, because I want to ask you, because I know Texas is not necessarily an easy place to...
Oh, whoa. No, I'm sorry, no, everything just turned real. I think it's lifting.
Yeah, it usually lasts for about 35-40 minutes. So,
okay.
Yeah.
Oh,
yeah.
Wow. So, like, the room literally just, all those little grids?
Now? Yeah.
That like it was glitching. It's like it's like it's like somebody turned off Texas. The projectors.
You definitely woke up now. You
definitely and everything. Hey, I'm sorry, guys. I'm sorry that I'm late for this podcast.
Thanks for showing up.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome Ivy Lee to the Canna podcast. That's awesome. No, so it's easy for you to get weed in Texas? Because I know it's not legal there. Is it, or is it? I don't know the laws in Texas. Explain, please.
Have you guys talked about the difference between like legal versus decriminalized?
No, that's part of why I love that you're on, because we really dealt with folks who live, like we had folks from Canada, and then we have people from California where it's, you can walk into an Apple store like, venue and purchase your cannabis very easily and freely. Mm-hmm. So how is it for you in Texas? That's a different game.
Yeah. So THC is illegal, as it is in most places, as it is in still many places. Mm-hmm. But criminal laws are enforced at the county level. So at the county level, after Texas legalized hemp, like just a regular, just think of your little
Your
dinky
CBD hemp, yeah, your regular CBD hemp, yeah.
No, I think of your dinky little county, right? If now they have to pay every time they want to charge somebody with possession, they have to get the lab test.
Yeah,
they have to pay for a lab test.
Costs are very expensive.
Yeah, to prove that it wasn't hemp, which is absolutely illegal. Because of the agriculture industry, and so most counties, especially where it was politically positive to do so, said we have to pick and choose what we enforce according to our budgets, and we're just not going to mess around with this when we have these other bigger fish to fry.
Okay.
And you live in what part of Texas?
I live in Travis County, which is Austin, Texas, which is Central Texas.
Okay.
So county by county, there are a bunch of, and it's not just the liberal counties, because the liberal, quote unquote, liberal counties are also our most populous, and like whenever you see anything that's like unjust, it'll also happen in the big cities because that's just where the concentration of people are. Well, I'm so sorry, guys. I hadn't silenced my phone. I think that's me.
You're good. You're good.
We can always silence it and then pause it and edit it out. No problem.
Eric has had his
my phone rang
blast.
3 times one episode, and then the comedian that we had on the podcast was like,
tore his ass up,
made jokes about it, and we left it all in because it was hilarious. So it's all good. Don't trip.
Right, peek behind the curtain.
In fact, we might
Canuya
just
curtain.
listen to the episode with Kalia McNeil where she tears out my ass for having the phone. No, that sounds bad. Never mind. Listen to episode with Kalia where she makes fun of me for my phone ringing a couple of times in the episode.
His OnlyFans is where he
hilarious.
gets his ass torn out, guys.
No, we had a very specific conversation how he was not about the ass yesterday.
Yeah, no, we're not about the ass. No.
Unless he was sticking up his tush kush.
And I just kept, so I was just like, fine. He was just he's not a yes. Right, he threw out the tush kush, because so I think there's really 2 distinctive types of hosts, right? And then they're always like they always get together and do a podcast. One who does butt stuff and one who doesn't.
Well, we'll stay tuned for later on in the podcast, and you will hear the story of the tush kush. But it's about you right now, Ivy.
Oh,
and
me?
you're from Austin, Texas.
Oh, sorry,
and
we're talking about the legal.
And you're explaining how you can navigate your cannabis usage in a place where. Your county. I got you.
We're
girl.
like meandering like so much. Like, how can anybody stand to listen to this podcast?
Oh no, people love this.
Yeah, this
is what we do.
If they're on the same level as us, then this makes perfect sense.
Yeah, you really got to smoke before you do this podcast, and we should really say that up top. That you should really smoke before you listen to us.
Unless you're underage, then don't do that.
Then don't do that.
Don't do it.
Listen to the disclaimer and don't listen to this podcast, because if you're not 18, you shouldn't listen. But Ivy.
I've been doing weed for like 3 years.
You've been doing you for a couple of years, right? You
3 years.
3 years.
I feel like I've been doing weed for 3 years now.
That's so cool.
But I feel weird coming onto this podcast to like mom-splain decriminalization of marijuana to a bunch of people who've been doing the game a lot longer.
It's very, because you represent a lot of people, because as it's been decriminalized, whether it's in your county or whether it's in your state, like where we live. There's a lot of people like you are like, well, let me try this and see how it goes. Let me take an edible, or let me try to smoke a little bit, or see what it is, or let me offer it to my guests and see if they like it. And so there's a lot of people like you. So your perspective is important, and especially since you live in a state that isn't legal. So how you navigate that is really actually very important information.
So if it's decriminalized, it means it's still illegal. They just aren't going to enforce it because they just have to focus their resources somewhere else. That's usually it just means they won't arrest you. They won't charge you. They're just not going to enforce that.
Is it more like fines? Would they fine you?
I guess that would be, they could. I think that's probably happened in some places.
But it's just pretty a nominal fine, like $250 or $50, or like a little slap on the wrist, but not really anything crazy, right?
I mean, yeah, with fines, you still come into the problem of which neighborhoods are over-policed and under-policed, right? So,
and also which police decide to stop who you're going to stop and all that stuff. Yeah.
Yeah. So it's like if you're going to try to decriminalize or legalize this, then you can't also just kind of forget how it affects everybody.
So let me ask you, how do you obtain your cannabis?
Oh no! So there's lots of cannabis is like a little complicated. So there's decriminalized, so it's not legalized. So there's not a law being like, okay, you can just like do that. But there is medical. There is medical cannabis.
Okay.
Also, we Delta 8, and what I'm now seeing is what they're calling it, THC
A or A
THCA,
THCA, okay.
THCA, which I think is getting a lot better reviews from what I hear than Delta 8 folks, and there's plenty of homegrown, what I call conventional market, or the traditional market, or something.
Like the gray market is what they call it now, because it's kind of legal, but it's kind of not still, but it's still kind of gray. Yeah.
And then folks like that, they may grow it themselves, which certainly I think is a very prestige thing in a place like Austin, Texas, right? To do.
I got some.
And then plenty of people just bring
even
it in.
South by Southwest, there's so much artists. I remember I was at a comedy festival at the Comedy Fest with Laugh After Dark, where we met in person for the first time, because we met we worked with each other as writers on Model Majority, but then we met each other in person at the Comedy Fest and Laugh After Dark, and at that I got to smoke with some folks that were from South by Southwest, the festival from Austin, and the weed they had was fire. I mean, it was incredible.
Oh, had they gotten it locally in Nevada?
I think that guy was. Yeah, it was. He got it from his connect, and it was fire.
Right, because but there were dispensaries in Nevada.
Oh yeah, but he still brought it from home because it was that good. Like, it was really. I was probably seeing the omnidirectional things when I was smoking that weed that night.
Yeah, so I mean, we have talented plant people in Texas, passionate plant people
and
in Texas,
and industrious people who know how to make money where there's a need for it.
Yeah. So just like people complain about. I was gonna make a never mind. Remix, Ivy.
Well, so let's talk about last night. So how do you feel about last night and the JoySauce show? Because that was where we came together last night, right?
So just for anyone that may not know, last night a company called JoySauce put on an all AAPI comedy lineup. We had a show. We had two shows.
Which benefited the Very Asian Foundation.
Yeah, it was for a good cause. We were raising money. And there were two shows and 12 comics. And it was just a wonderful showcase of just all Asian talent, like just running the spectrum. Like I enjoyed it because I just got to see like people in their element, like so many people I've seen before performing comedy, like doing other shows with, and then them just killing it last night. I liked, I did my set. I felt like I could have, polished a few things, but you always feel like that,
Yeah.
But overall, like it was a great experience. Shout out to JoySauce and Anna Twaz and Parsons who put everything together. Shout out to the crew that filmed the sound. Yeah, everyone. The most Asian crafty service I've ever seen in my entire life.
I love a good BIPOC crafty.
Dude, like, yeah, no, like there was like I've been eating Asian snacks all my life, but then there was some stuff that I've never seen, and it was cool to see like other people be like, "Oh, you've never had that? Try this flavor."
And then what was great about it was after the show, when everything was done, there was so much crafty left and purchased that they were like, "Guys, wrap it up, bring it home," just like an Asian party.
I did. I took a whole bag of mango marshmallows with Hello Kitty mango marshmallows.
Oh my gosh.
And then last night I ate 2 giant bags of chips. I took, including a durian coconut wafer.
Oh, what?
Bag.
I had the taro one.
How long? You're in town till tomorrow, right? Mm-hmm. And then you go back home to Austin.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So let me ask you, Ivy, what did you think about how did you feel about last night? What did you feel?
For me, coming out here, because I think I was the only comic that had to be flown in. I think you had one comic drive down from Oakland, but pretty much everybody was LA based, you know. So I just felt going into it just very like, this is a huge opportunity for me. It's like, because
your outfit was fire. I love
thank you.
The eyes with the suit jacket was just.
You guys, we can't even describe how awesome this outfit was. This fit was on point.
Like if she was hosting the Grammys, this was the fit that she would
No,
wear.
it was not.
For
that.
real, it was fire.
Not that much.
You were fire last
No,
night.
you were one of the best dressed people in the whole lineup because I went up in a pair of jeans and a sweatshirt. So, like you were definitely great about.
Yeah. To me, to wear something casual like jeans and a t-shirt, it would be a costume. You would sniff me out off that. I would just be. I think I would feel so weird. I would just look like a walking snitch. Yeah, but like my real form is like otherworldly creature.
She had her nails did. She had her hair did. It was fire.
Yeah, no, I think that the show for me it was really great because we were almost a little bit behind the scenes because Anna kind of reached out to us to have us help book the show a little bit.
Yeah, so with the logistics and whatnot.
Yeah, with some of the stuff, which was really cool to see as a behind the scenes, that whole thing, and then how it came together last night with the table and all the all the talkbacks and all the different things, and then the shows, and all the audiences seemed to be really, really receptive and really fun.
I'm sorry, Eric. I gotta take.
It's okay.
I gotta take this.
We're gonna update you since it's not a video podcast, but. Ivy brought us some Turon.
She went to Dollar Hits in LA.
Shout out to Dollar Hits in LA. She brought us some wonderful, home pasalubong. In Tagalog, it's pasalubong when you come to somebody's house. And she brought us some wonderful Turon. But my weed has given her the munchies to the point where she's now eaten her gift to me. She's eating it right now live on the podcast. And I hope you're enjoying
amazing.
It. It taste good? Because the weed makes it taste even better, doesn't it?
Look, me gustan los plátanos. You guys have no idea, but this is like the most incredible platin experience I've ever had in my life.
So a Turon, a Filipino Turon it's a banana. It's wrapped in... what is it? Egg roll wrapper, yeah. Egg roll wrapper, right? And then they roll it around in sugar and deep fry it.
We're gonna leave all that crunchiness in there for all you ASMR folks that like that crunchy stuff.
It's like it's crusted with a brulee.
Yeah, it's like creme brulee, but with a banana.
Yeah, it's very good. It's a very good, very sweet snack. That I'm almost glad that Ivy ate mine for me because I can't. I'm not really good with sugar. My dad's diabetic, so I've kind of decided to avoid as much sugar as possible. So the fact that she's housing my gift is good. I don't know. I think we've lost Ivy.
Somehow it turns into a sauce as it forms down the sluice of my throat. I can't explain it. I can't explain it, but it tastes like the color yellow.
Oh, that is awesome. It tastes like that might be... I wanted the episode to be like JoySauce Afterglow. But the title of the episode is definitely...
It tastes like yellow.
It tastes like the color yellow. That's got to be the title of this episode.
I mean, it's giving me SNL vibes.
Are you guys any idea how much I love food?
No, but this is why it's tough. So okay, moving on from JoySauce.
Yeah, but I wanted to get a little recount because that's literally why she's here.
Yeah.
We had and she's in town, and that's why she's in town. So I wanted to give a little pub to them because it's great.
I do have one.
What's up?
The one thing that was weird, not in a bad way at all, right? But I guess I just assumed that because I guess they focus on Asian American creators and Asian American, the content creators and what have you, that it was for some reason going to be a predominantly Asian audience.
Yeah, it was not.
It was not.
It was not.
So, but I mean, it was just more like a regular
comedy club audience.
Yeah.
I think for California, or for Southern California, I think the reason that is because the show was on the West Side. It was basically in Santa Monica. It was at the Crow.
Yeah, which is shout out to the Crow, great club, great, and great audience. But yes, it's not necessarily a predominantly BIPOC audience.
I mean, I guess kind of culture aside, I am also a flaming bisexual. And so I do a lot of queer comedy. Shout out, tongue in cheek. I host the only queer comedy open mic in Austin, Texas, and quite possibly the state, because that is a state where it's like tough to. There are people looking out for these queer events to endanger them.
You're on the front lines of comedy, because there are literally people that will probably approach you when you're on stage and tell you to stop doing what you're doing.
Right.
So
it's
that's very admirable.
So with that, and then we got a grant because of the work we've been doing on kind of queering the comedy pipeline in Austin. We got a grant to host a contest called the Cheekiest Comic Competition. So if any LGBTQ AAPI comics are listening to this, before the deadlines are in March.
I really hope that and it's part of the reason why we want to have you on the podcast, because there's so many people that use this plant for their creativity, for their process. Oh,
these people are this is a weed friendly community for sure. But like, we're taking submissions at cheekiestcomic.com. So I get a lot of gigs that are kind of focused for a queer audience because of that work. And people know with Gen Z, like, I can't pass anymore. I think heteronormativity was like so extreme when I was growing up that like they'll be like, two women will literally be kissing each other, and people will be like, oh, they're just doing it for male attention. But like, one man just like passes the salt to the other, and it's like gay, right? Like, heteronormativity is like so weird. But like, now that like, no matter how gay I would act, like no one would assume anything else, except that I was straight. But with these new kids, man, like, you can't. They will clock you a block away.
It's kind of nice though. It really is, because I come from a different. I'm probably a little bit older than you.
Definitely.
Oh, wow. Why do I always get that Don Cheadle fucking Kevin Hart energy whenever I talk about how old I am now with comics?
You set yourself up.
I set the comics up for that, definitely. I mean, goddamn. But anyway, I'm older than you. And I came up in the 80s and 90s, and it was very, very still taboo. Like, so much so that, like, I came up in theater and knew a lot of gay people and a lot of homosexual. Alexandra Billings I did a play with her in Chicago. So, like, I was able to empathize with them because I met them. I knew them. They were my friends. And... yeah, so
and when you're going through a straight passing as like kind of a default industry or whatever, I want to give people a place where they can do their comedy, the funniest comedy they can make, to the audience that they want to make it to, and not in a way where they're like performing queer minstrelsy for straight people,
right?
And tokenizing themselves. So the point is I have like, basically, I feel like I've got like one special that's like developing for queer audiences.
Nice.
That I love, and I love that material, but that like, whenever I feel like, when I think the audience is going to be mostly, Asian Americans, I think it's going to be
conservative,
not at least on sexuality, right? That they're not going to relate, to be willing to see themselves in those characters or whatever, and that it will be less. That I assume it's a more mainstream, I guess, quote, kind of crowd. And so I didn't bring any of my queer stuff. I came with kind of my kind of this other side of me special, the one about parenting,
being a parent,
and trying to raise my children differently than what I'd ever witnessed, right? And so that's just an assumption I made, and realizing that one assumption that I had made about the crowd was wrong made me question all the assumptions I had about the crowd, and I wonder sometimes, like, if these two things I'm keeping separate and I'm playing these two different parts of myself, like, am I also betraying myself in that at all?
I would say I wouldn't say to go as far as you're betraying yourself, but I'd say instinctively mix that shit. Mix it. Because you're a good enough writer to be able to mix the two and call back one and bring back the other and really just because that is something no one's ever seen before.
Being a
mom that's
Asian
raising her kids as that's some unique stuff right there. That's
because most comics who do stuff about parenting are very like, oh, I hate my kids. My spouse is dumb.
I couldn't disagree more with in that vein of comedy. I love my kids. My kids are the reason I do comedy, which is why, like, I'm starting to integrate them slowly into my comedy. But it's it's definitely very delicate, and I want to be sure that when they watch it when they're older, they can still watch it and not, not be. They're not going to be embarrassed by what Daddy says about them when they were kids. You know what I'm saying?
And I don't think you were disingenuous in any way.
No,
like, I don't. Like you were just code switching. It's just like the way you talk to your friends versus the way you talk to people at work. Like that's all you were doing. You were just I don't know if like you were just trying to appeal to a more general audience.
That's just being a pro comic. You were trying to appeal to your audience. That you were trying to gauge your audience, and then you were trying to appeal to that audience and give them what they wanted to hear. That's all you're doing.
Yeah, which, that's the part of you that's kind of like the entertainer, the craftsman, right? That you make something for a trade, like you're a painter, so you paint frescoes and you're a craftsman or whatever. But then there's a part of you that's the artist part that's like part of it. Like some of the entertainment is for them, but the art is for you. And so but then I'll say to call it code switching is I do feel like code switching is a little bit of a betrayal that we're made to commit against ourselves.
I feel you.
And I think the less codes there was just a moment in time about 2018 where I made a conscious decision to minimize code switching in my life and restructure my life if necessary to make that possible. And after that is when we met. That's it has been just kind of every time I reduce the amount of code switching, I pay a price for it, obviously, but then I always get this big artistic reward.
Like in the long run, it works out.
See, and I almost spent the first part of my acting career in Chicago always code switching. You know what I'm saying? And now that I'm a stand-up, I default to the artist all the time, to the point where I don't give a fuck what y'all think. But at the same time, what you were saying about being queer and your sexual identification, I feel that same way about cannabis when I talk about cannabis on stage.
Oh, really?
Because I have to
great callback to the topic of the show.
That's how we do, girl.
No, but we're talking about creativity.
No, we're talking about creativity.
No.
We're talking about cannabis. We're talking about everything. But in the same way, it's parallel. Because in the same way, you have to gauge your audience to see whether they're going to vibe on your queer material. I, in the same way, have to gauge an audience to see if, are you guys going to vibe to this cannabis? Like, I was happy for you guys because the first crowd, it was all smokers. And then when I asked everybody, I was like, yay, a little smattering of applause. I'm like,
Eric, can I tell you something? No, I will say, the moment that I was really glad that I didn't go with the queer set actually was during your set because you were up before me by like one or two people.
No, I was right before you.
Oh, you're right before me.
Yeah, that's why I didn't see the first beginning part of your set because I was still kind of like trying to, down.
Gotcha. So you have an eating dog joke in your set.
Yeah.
Right? In my queer set, there is also a joke. The joke is that every woman I've ever fallen for, the reason why I'm in the reason why I'm in a straight passing marriage with a man is that every woman I've ever fallen for was a dog person, but I eat dog. Right.
Well, let's see.
And it's a callback to culture, whatever. Anyway, literally one of my favorite jokes, because I love the perfect Ivy League laugh is where half the audience is like, I like the non-consensual laugh, I guess is what I'm saying. They don't want to give it to you, but just take it. Just take it. Yeah,
but there's a little laugh in there.
Yeah, that's my favorite laugh.
So since you brought it up, I ended on that dog eating joke. And, okay, I'm going to say it because we're talking about cannabis and creativity. The show was structured. If you do stand-up comedy, you'll know that you get a light. When you do a show, you get a light. But the light was it was like a flash. And if you missed it, you missed it. So you don't know if you had 1 minute or you had 2 minutes or you were if you whatever. So if you didn't have a gauge in your head, you might not know when to end. Right? And I didn't see it. I missed it. I missed the light. I couldn't see it. But I also didn't want to go over. But I also wanted to keep going because I wanted to fill the time. So I started that Santa Claus bit where I talked about how I told my kids, or my oldest kid said that she doesn't believe in Santa Claus anymore, and I could finally take credit for giving her the dog. But I didn't know where I was going to land. I had no idea. I didn't know what punchline I was going to use because I didn't I was like, I just like I'm trying to fill fucking time, really.
Just like now.
I'm watching
Bitch,
you.
no, not just like now.
I'm watching you gesticulate in space, but like every comma that you just used felt to me like a lurch through time.
I love it. No, but so I love it because that's how it felt in my brain. Because at that point we had probably like 4 joints that day because we were there the whole fucking day. We were smoking all day, and I was so
Every
stoned.
comma.
I love it.
What do exclamation marks look like to you?
No, exclaim something.
We'll figure it out. Hold on. And so I'm trying to figure out this joke, and I'm talking about how my kids and Christmas, and then I remembered that I told the joke about my first pot plant that my dog ate, and that was the same dog that was Christmas. And I'm like, oh shit! In my pothead brain, I put it together.
That exclamation.
How was it?
The exclamation looked like a lemon burst.
And there's the yellow again.
I want to experience weed like you experience weed.
This episode is definitely the color yellow, guys.
How topical.
Do you have like synesthesia? Do you get like, can you taste
think
colors
so.
or like
I think I'm just sensitive to beauty.
auras? You read auras?
I love it so much. So Ivy, tell us.
You know what?
We're wrapping it up because we're almost at 40 minutes. I'm telling you, this has flown by.
If you think this is wild, I wish you could experience mushrooms like I do.
Oh no,
what?
like you do, because we want to cover mushrooms on this podcast and microdosing because. Can I say it? Like you were able to get me some mushrooms, and I did my first dose of microdose of mushroom. It actually didn't end up being a microdose because I didn't.
It's just
know
a regular dose.
That was like I think that was a hardcore full. That might have been an overdose for me, but I experienced mushrooms for the first time since college because of Mitch, and we can talk about mushrooms if you want because I love mushrooms.
It makes a certain kind of wall breathe.
Yeah. You like when things respirate.
Yeah, I like to stay out. I stay out in the backyard. At that experience, I stayed out in the backyard, and literally the grass was breathing for me. It was like just stayed in the backyard. I was buck naked too.
Can I? What?
Yeah, no, I stripped down buck
What
naked.
did you throw that? You just throw that in there so casually, like just.
So what, man? I'm connecting with nature. I'm for real. This is real.
I was assuming buck naked like the entire time. So it's like
right.
right.
See, you know me, Ivy. We've known each other for a while, so you knew that I was going to be buck naked for this experience. But I stripped down buck naked. This is real because nobody was home.
He would have had to specify clothes for me.
Yeah, like,
The girls were in school. My kids were in school. My wife was at work. She goes to the office sometimes, and I took my dose of mushrooms, and I was like, you know what? I need to be outside. And I also really need to connect. I feel like I really need to connect. So I was touching the grass and I was feeling the grass. And I feel like I really needed to connect with nature. So I fucking pulled down my pants and I pulled down my underwear and I took off my shirt and I was just buck-ass naked in my backyard. And I lied down, butt down onto and I felt the grass kind of in my butthole.
okay.
And did you
And it reminded me of Tush Kush.
Did you still feel as a stranger on this land
No,
to it? Or
no, I was fully connected.
did
I
it
almost felt like I was
reclaim you?
connected to the roots.
that you were like native here now?
Yeah. I felt like
The
I
land
was.
accepts you, even if the
And here's
power
the thing that
structure
was weird
doesn't.
is that because Mitch got me the mushrooms.
Mm-hmm.
And I still had my phone with me. I was naked, but I still had my phone with me because it was on the pile of my clothes, like a pillow. I was still I could kind of make sure that kept everything safe. And I had my phone on my pillow, and I'm like, you know what? I'm gonna call Mitch. And I called, and he didn't answer his phone.
I'm glad I did it because that would have been very awkward. Eric would have just told me I'm naked and I'm doing mushrooms. And
No, I would just been like,
we
bro,
can't-
thank you. I was just gonna call him to thank him for the mushrooms. That was
Like,
what I was
Eric-
calling him for.
We can't talk anymore after this. Can't look you in the eye anymore because
It wasn't a FaceTime. I wasn't trying to FaceTime you. I was just trying to have a conversation.
I'll FaceTime people from the
'Cause I
toilet.
felt
You're just
lonely
looking
at
at my
that moment.
face.
Yeah.
I wasn't gonna buck ass naked FaceTime you. I wasn't gonna do that.
Oh, boy.
I wasn't that high.
Girlfriends, we will like call each other buck naked just to be like, what should I wear?
But would you be on FaceTime?
Yeah.
Wow.
See, I feel like that's
I think you guys can get to that if you unpack your toxic masculinity.
First of all, there's no toxic masculinity at the Canna podcast. There's too much cannabis for that, okay? Mm-hmm. But I agree with you that there's going to be more adventures for Mitch and I with this wonderful plant. But at the same time, I got to thank our guest, Miss Ivy Lee, for being here on our podcast because it was hilarious.
Yeah.
We never had a live review of the homegrown as the interview was going on all throughout the interview.
It feels like all three of us are on like different ribbons through space-time, and now they're starting to like wave by at each other, like when people wave the flags at the beginning of the Olympics, like across the football field or something, and they're just going whoosh, 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 whoosh.
And my phone's ringing from a telemarketer, guys. It's time.
So this has been the Canna podcast. We like to thank Ivy Lee. Ivy, tell them your socials. Let us know, or let the people know where they can find you.
And also let them know if you're performing in any shows you want to pub in Austin. Let them know all the stuff that where they can. Where they can get you.
I want the comics to submit to cheekiestcomic.com. I'd love for you to follow me on all the socials, TikTok, Instagram, wherever, at Ivy Lee with one E, and I mean like the phrase all spelled out. Because, I learned from our little 90s AOL names, like you just got to pick an aspect about you that will never change. So it's Ivy Lee with one E, all spelled out on like everything. And I will be back here in LA to do The Moth at the, what is that, the something United Theater on Broadway in downtown LA.
Awesome. You're going to be at The Moth? You're going to be, are you one of the national
storytellers? No, it's not a competition. It's like the main stage show.
Okay, awesome.
So I'm one of their storytellers.
Cool. Nice theater.
And I'll be, and actually I've got a show this week. Hopefully, if any folks in Austin, TikToker, like the Seattle comic Ellen Aquario. I don't know if you know, she's Korean.
Yeah, I did a show with Ellen. She's awesome. She's awesome. So good.
So she's coming to Austin this week, and she and I are putting on a show in Austin. Tickets are for sale.
Very cool.
The link in my bio.
Well, tell Ellen I said hi because I love that girl. She's so awesome. Her husband's Filipino too, so it's
I know. She talks about that.
Yeah,
we're gonna meet him. We're all gonna go on a double date.
Awesome.
Yeah.
So
check me out.
And shout out to our marijuana ate, Ivy Lee.
Yeah, you're a new official marijuana ate with JoySauce on it.
And it tastes like yellow.
It tastes like yellow, everybody. All right, everyone. I'm Mitch Narito.
And I am Eric Esteban. Don't forget, leave us a review on Apple Podcasts or Spotify. Ivy's going to finish her turon, my gift. She's eating the whole thing, guys. She brought it for me, and she's eating the whole thing. But, again, subscribe. If you can subscribe, that's great. If not, please leave us a review. Share this podcast. If you enjoy it, please share the podcast on your threads, on your X, on your YouTube feed, wherever you're sharing things nowadays, kids. Share this Canna podcast, and if you enjoy it, share it with people who you think will enjoy it. Share it with people who you think want to know the Canna knowledge that we are sharing. And now she gave me a little bite-sized piece of Turon.
So, to all the Canna Kuyas and the marijuana aunts, stay lifted, stay elevated.
Peace, y'all.
Fuck the violence, man, check my mileage, cause I got drive. First tour, I drove 6 states, never thought I'd be there right by my side, man. What a time it is to be alive. See, I'm charged up, feeling energized, build an enterprise, move supersize. Y'all extra like a side of fries. Whoa, false guys who you idolize. Yeah, go against us, I would not advise. We the highest in the room, just look up once and you can find us. Our songs should have more plays, but we too dope, they rewind us. All my targets lined up, every day my girl get fined up. All my clothes is local, bitch, I really rock designer.
Let's go, gang. Highest in the room, yo, we get fucked up. Ay, you can count on Trey, can't bring the loud pack. Ay, get us in the stew and that's game over. Western Metal Building, that's a home run. Yeah, keep the up or leave the fuck a Folgers. Little bitch, I make the beat and drop the full verse. I just hit a steelo, I got dripped up. Package born and raised. Paris, bitch, I got dripped up. Y no se compara. Yo estoy con mi pana, se llama Trigger, fumando ganja. Estamos con Cali, fumando en Cali, yo sé que traen ganas. Ella me dice, papi, que terminamos la cama. Highest in the room, yeah, we get fucked up. You can count on Trey Cap, bring the loud pack. Get us in the stew and that's game over. Western Metal Building, that's a home run.
Yeah, we got hits like Tatis and Machado. Man, we know you're not a leader, cause all our moves you just follow, packing big bowls. You know we just scooped up that gelato, cause I smoke killer. My shirt iller, yo, ask our dealer, we the highest in the room. Just look up once and you can find us. Our song should have more plays, but we too though, they rewind us. All my talk is lined up, every day my girl get fined up. All my clothes is local, bitch, I rarely rock designer.